WWE, the biggest and most popular wrestling company in the world, holder of the grandest stage of them all, the place that apparently every single wrestler in the world aspires to get to. For a long time now, WWE has become the end of the road for foreign wrestlers that come from all over the globe. It has become common to see huge stars from different places to come to the WWE and have a widely different range of outcomes for their careers, from the ones who manage to obtain the highest of glories to the ones that fail miserably and fall into obscurity, or even worse, those who plummet from the main event into the bottom of the pile. Wrestling is such an unpredictable form of art or entertainment that it is complicated to pin down the reasons behind the success or failure of foreign stars. However, WWE's management of this foreign talent might be one of the main reasons for this to happen. With the news of the WWE purchasing the Mexican company AAA, a question comes to mind. Has the WWE been fair in their treatment of not only Mexican luchadors, but of foreign talents in recent memory? Let's begin with luchadors, since it's the most appropriate branch of wrestlers, given the newly obtained interest WWE has taken upon lucha libre. Ever since Rey Mysterio became a fan favorite, the WWE has been on the lookout for luchadors who could achieve the same level of relevance and success amongst the USA fans. Many have tried it, but nobody has ever been able to replicate this. Lucha libre fans have seen many major promising stars getting into the WWE and fail miserably at connecting with the American audience. To many luchadors, their WWE run has represented such a detriment to their image that it has compromised their whole careers. And even to some, their careers have never been the same after a disastrous first run in this company. This was the case of one of the biggest stars that CMLL has ever produced in recent memory, a wrestler that was destined to become a main eventer at every company that he will step a foot in. The abilities of Rey Mysterio combined with the size and presence of Alberto Del Rio, and his name was La Sombra. La Sombra was a wrestler who came from a wrestling family, one that was part of an already established lucha libre dynasty in Mexico. La Sombra began to train at a very young age, making his debut at only 13 years old, and by the time he was 17, he was already a member of the CMLL roster. La Sombra is an interesting case, as it wasn't the usual case of a luchador being beloved by the Mexican audience, to the point of this being the reason for the WWE to sign him. La Sombra was an impressive wrestler with an amazing technique, but also with stunning aerial maneuvers despite not being the standard small high-flyer wrestler. Regardless of his technical prowess, La Sombra was utterly rejected by the CMLL crowd. Many fans alleged that La Sombra, despite being an incredible wrestler, lacked charisma to connect with the audience. So much so that even though he was a technical or a face, people still boo him and will cheer for his opponents. Regardless of this, La Sombra managed to win every major title in CMLL, as well as he will become the Intercontinental IWGP champion from New Japan after defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. La Sombra will excel in Japan, as the Japanese audience will appreciate his style of wrestling, being much more appreciated there than at his own country in Mexico, a place where he was regarded as an overrated wrestler. All of this will change though, when La Sombra will take part of one of the most popular factions in recent times. La Sombra will ally with La Máscara, Rush, and Naito, wrestlers that despite being faces were stuck in the mid-card, not really connecting with the audience. In kayfabe, they will become bitter, as the fans didn't like them despite being good guys, which will lead them to develop a rebellious attitude, where they will no longer care if they win or if they lose matches. The only thing on their minds will be to humiliate everybody, and thus, Los Ingobernables will be born. Los Ingobernables will become the hottest faction not only in Mexico, but also in Japan, having their own version of this stable there. Paradoxically, the members of this faction will reach an immense popularity as heels rather than as faces, being loved for their carefree demeanor, presenting themselves as cool and careless, as if no problem were big enough to disrupt their temper, this being well represented in the catchphrase tranquilo. La Sombra and all the members of the faction would become the most over luchadors at CMLL, and with this popularity, rumors about the WWE setting their eyes on all of them were beginning to spread. Fans and wrestlers expected that the WWE will sign one of these new stars in the near future. Finally, on the year 2015, at the 82nd anniversary of CMLL, La Sombra was scheduled for a mask versus mask match at the main event. He will have to face none other than Atlantis, the face of CMLL, a legendary wrestler who had been the most emblematic luchador from CMLL during that period of time. Given the rumors about the WWE being interested in some members of Los Ingobernables, and the fact that the unmasking of Atlantis was something impossible to fathom, the Lucha Libre fans already knew what to expect as the outcome of this match. At last, the match was one of the best matches of that year, with an unbelievably amazing performance by both wrestlers. A match where the past and the present of Lucha Libre would meet. At times, the outcome of the match felt unexpected. However, in the end, what most people assumed that could happen finally happened, as Atlantis would earn a new mask to his accolades. And with this, La Sombra would lose his already iconic mask. The man behind the mask was none other than Manuel Alfonso Andrade, now simply known as Andrade in the WWE. Fans understood that the unmasking of La Sombra meant that he was the one chosen by the WWE to be the next Mexican star in the WWE, a worthy successor of Rey Mysterio to the eyes of many. Despite this, Andrade's initial run with the WWE was a mixed bag. His run at NXT was highly praised by fans, having amazing matches against the likes of Drew McIntyre, Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, amongst many others. His call to the main roster, on the other hand, was disappointing, with the only notable thing to point out being his matches against Rey Mysterio. The fact that the WWE, such a promo-driven company, represented a big contrast with Lucha Libre, where stories are told inside the ring, without much of the need of the use of the mic. Andrade, who still struggled a bit with English, found a big challenge, as he couldn't connect with the USA audience. On top of all of that, Lucha Libre fans began to speculate that the WWE were the ones to ask Andrade to lose his mask, as they have previously done already with other masked luchadors. If true, this would prevent Andrade from bringing one of the last true iconic masks into the WWE. So instead of the cool, collected persona he had crafted at CMLL, Andrade was presented at WWE as just another Mexican luchador. This would make him appear as a bland and boring performer. His run was so badly managed by the WWE that he would eventually leave the company to go to AEW. Once there, he would be met with a similar reaction by the audience, leading to him to return once again to the WWE to a slightly more positive reaction. Still, nothing close to the level he had achieved as La Sombra. WWE's misunderstanding of Lucha Libre and masks will take its toll on yet another luchador career, falling into the now usual treatment of luchadors, of labeling them as just another stereotype. Although Andrade could have made a bigger effort in improving his mic skills, the overall presentation of his character by the WWE has left an enormous scar on his image. Only time will tell if he can turn all of this around. Kenta is another great example of a wrestler who is a huge star in pretty much everywhere else but the WWE. Starting his career in the year 2000, he was the disciple of the legendary Kenta Kobashi. Kenta was a part of a new wave of wrestlers who began to popularize during the early 2000s the now prominent junior heavyweight Japanese division. Given his kickboxing background, his style excelled as he combined stiff striking with realistic grappling maneuvers. Kenta helped to develop at Noah a junior heavyweight division that appeared as more realistic and hard-hitting. This connected with an audience drawn to mixed martial arts, which was a massive one in Japan during the early 2000s, thanks to the popularity of MMA promotions like Pride during that period of time. Kenta will dominate the junior heavyweight division in the company Noah, earning different championships there, as it was the tag team championship alongside another promising star, Marufuji. He will also become the GHC junior heavyweight champion. In 2004, he will become a more prominent singles wrestler, and it will be on that year, during a series of matches against legendary names that he will debut his finishing move, the go-to-sleep, and even a more devastating variation of the move, the inverted go-to-sleep, applying it for the first time to his mentor Kenta Kobashi. In the year 2005, Kenta's hard-hitting strong style will make him become a worldwide sensation and a fan favorite of the internet wrestling community of that time. This is why he will make the jump and wrestle in the USA for the first time for the company Ring of Honor at the event Final Battle, defending the GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship against Low Ki in the main event. This will open the door for Kenta to continuously appear on different Ring of Honor events, and while the company Pro Wrestling Noah was his primary company, he will continue to compete against many different stars from Ring of Honor, having great matches against wrestlers like Bryan Danielson, Tyler Black, now known as Seth Rollins, Austin Aries, and Samoa Joe. As years went on, Kenta will make a prominent career at Noah, dominating the junior heavyweight division but also having amazing matches in the true heavyweight division, becoming one of the main stars not only of the company Noah, but in the overall Japanese wrestling scene. Up until the year 2013, he will finally become the GHC heavyweight champion after defeating Morishima. It was a year after, thanks to the sudden interest of Triple H in bringing an array of independent and foreign wrestlers to his now improved NXT brand, that Kenta will make his debut at NXT under the name of Hideo Itami. As it was often the case for many of the wrestlers who come from other places, WWE prefers to own the names and characters for all of their talents in order to secure trademark rights and maintain control over their intellectual property. This is done with merchandising and marketing purposes. This is why Kenta was a name that was ruled out by the WWE, not only for the association the name had with another legendary wrestler, but also as it was a name from another company. The choosing of a new name was somewhat of a shaky beginning for Kenta, foreshadowing of what was yet to come. According to him on his book, WWE will tell him that they couldn't allow him to keep his name, so Kenta will propose to them to use his surname, which was Kobayashi. WWE will also refuse this, since they wanted a fresh start for his WWE run. Then, WWE will present him the following quote-unquote Japanese names for him to choose. The first one was Kage, which meant shadow. Another one was Kosetsu, that meant bone fracture. And finally, Sentoki, which translated to fight or plane. Kenta would be horrified by these names, claiming that he would be immensely embarrassed to come out and wrestle under any of them, so much so that he would not be able to ever return to Japan after degrading himself in that way. In the end, Hideo Itami will make his debut in NXT and be welcomed with a widely positive reception by the NXT fans. Still, behind the scenes, Kenta will begin to feel the pressure, and this will compromise his overall run with the company. As he detailed in his autobiography, his first months in the WWE were tough, as he was constantly being told many different things by many different producers. All of this would make him lose focus during matches, as he would be focused solely on satisfying the demands of the producers rather than performing a good wrestling match. He will compare his mental state as getting the jips, similarly to what happens to athletes from other sports like baseball, as he wasn't comfortable anymore in doing the things that he liked during matches. All of this will eventually affect his mental state and will make him lose confidence. On top of all of that, the exposure that WWE gave him made him gain fame in social media, and the comments from these platforms would begin to take another toll in his confidence and overall mental state. Kenta will find mild success on NXT, becoming a regular for the better part of 3 years. A series of injuries, and especially a shoulder one that will require surgery, will prevent him from gaining any kind of momentum until the year 2017, when he will have a run as a part of the 205 Live roster, being underutilized and booked terribly. Additionally, he wouldn't be able to wrestle as often, having very little matches for the majority of the next 2 years, until in the year 2019, when he would be released by the WWE after what he described as an infuriating run with the company. In this particular case, WWE did have a series of plans for Kenta, especially Triple H will be akin to his work at Noah, and his character was well received by the audience. Despite utilizing a more tame style of shoot wrestling, Kenta managed to gain some relevance despite injuries and not getting enough airtime. Also, his mental state was a contributing factor to make him a frustrating and disappointing run with the company. But ultimately, the fact that Kenta was a much smaller wrestler during the time where Vince McMahon ran the company was ultimately what trumped his opportunity of becoming a main eventer at the WWE. WWE's inexperience with foreign styles of wrestling will make them be unsure of how to present Kenta's style to an American audience. With Vince McMahon only caring about his size, Kenta was never given the opportunity to be as big of a star as he was at Japan, place where he was presented as a giant killer. His true potential was never shown, and his matches were becoming more and more scarce. Kenta's hopes and dreams of making it big at USA will begin to dwindle until they will fade away completely. Dragon Lee, similarly to Andrade, comes from a multi-generational wrestler family, with his big brother being the wrestler Rush, one of the biggest modern heels from Mexico, and currently a member of AEW. Dragon Lee is a much more younger wrestler, to the point that he is still to this day a promising star that still has a huge opportunity to become immensely huge and popular at WWE. He began training wrestling as a small kid and will make his debut at CMLL in the year 2014. At 19 years old, Dragon Lee will surprise fans and wrestlers for his amazing athleticism, showing moves that will look effortless despite the level of difficulty that this had. He will also stood out amongst the other high flyers, as he will present an impressive and imposing muscular build, one that contrasted with the smaller frames that most high flyers usually have. Dragon Lee's first claim to fame was a feud against a new Japanese masked sensation, Kamaitachi. This feud will take place at CMLL. Dragon Lee will have amazing matches against Kamaitachi, with the rivalry getting to the ultimate blow-off match in a mask versus mask match. A match that Dragon Lee will win, earning a mask to his young career. Kamaitachi will turn out to be Hiromu Takahashi, one of the most popular wrestlers from New Japan. Later on, in the year 2016, Dragon Lee will enter a feud against one of the members of his brother faction, La Máscara, a member of Los Ingobernables. Dragon Lee will save his mask once again, defeating La Máscara and earning one of the most popular masks from that time. This will solidify him as one of the main faces of CMLL, but sadly, the good times with Dragon Lee and CMLL wouldn't last, as in the year 2019, Dragon Lee and his family will begin to be involved in some backstage problems with CMLL. During this time, the popularity of both Dragon Lee and Rush will reach their highest level, as they were massively popular not only in Mexico, but in the overall international wrestling scene. This popularity meant to many fans that their days at CMLL were numbered, and it would be on that same year that both wrestlers would be fired by the CMLL after competing in a match at PWG that involved wrestlers from AAA, something seen as unacceptable by the CMLL, given the historic shoot rivalry between these two Mexican promotions. After this firing, Dragon Lee would be signed by Ring of Honor, as he had already earned notoriety from the USA in defense. He would become a key wrestler on Ring of Honor during this period of time, earning the TV title as well as the Tag Team Championship alongside Kenny King. During 2019, he will shock the Lucha Libre fans once again when he was scheduled to have a match at AAA, the biggest rival from the company that saw him develop as a wrestler. The match will be against Kenny Omega for the AAA's Mega Championship. The match will turn out to be an instant classic, in a must-see performance delivered by both of wrestlers. Even though Dragon Lee would fail to take the title away from Omega, this match solidified his place as one of the best wrestlers in the world, and the rumors about the WWE wishing to sign him will continue to escalate. In the year 2022, Tony Khan will purchase Ring of Honor, and with this, Dragon Lee, as he was a member of the Ring of Honor roster, would be very close to become a part of AEW, having some appearances at AEW shows, something that made fans to begin to speculate that AEW might be the new home of Dragon Lee. Finally, in that same year, after earning the Triple H tag team titles alongside his other brother, Realistico, Dragon Lee will announce to the world that he had already signed a contract to be a part of the WWE. Supposedly, it was reported that Dragon Lee stated that the reason why it took him so long to get to the WWE was because he wanted to travel the world and wrestle for as many independent promotions as he could. This with the intent of gaining as much popularity for his mask and character as possible. So much so that once the WWE or AEW will contact him, he could stay with his gimmick and mask to wherever he will go, given that it was a common practice amongst USA promotions of that caliber to remove the mask from Mexican wrestlers. Once at WWE, Dragon Lee would make his debut at NXT in a match for the North American Championship, showcasing his abilities in a WWE ring for the first time. At NXT, he will become a major and prominent figure, having great matches against JD McDonough and especially against Dominic Mysterio, the opponent that he will defeat to earn his first WWE title. It was also against Dom that Dragon Lee would find a special in-ring chemistry, being so palpable by the audience that fans began to point out that this was due to the fact that Dragon Lee was encouraged to become the long-awaited successor of Rey Mysterio. His time at NXT wouldn't be long, as he will debut at the main roster shortly after. In the present day, his treatment outside of the NXT has been mildly positive, being involved in great matches, defeating great opponents, and even teaming up with Rey Mysterio. He will even get to be an important element of the WWE Speed Tournament, even winning the Speed Championship. Still, despite all of this, Dragon Lee still remains in the mid-card of the company, awaiting to be seen in better lights or to be considered for a compelling storyline involving him. So far, he has given great opportunities, but nothing close to a main event level, and with the current competition that has been seen at that level, it is uncertain if the WWE will ever see him as a capable enough wrestler that could meet the demands that a main event role will require. Nakamura's career presents another crazy and intriguing story, one that is not so well known, especially not by the average WWE audience. Nakamura began his career in the year 2002, where he stood out as a promising young wrestler. Similarly to Kenta, Nakamura would begin his career during an era in which MMA was a predominant force in Japan. This would lead Antonio Inoki, the director of the company, to make some changes in the overall presentation of New Japan, like putting wrestlers from his own roster in real-life MMA fights, as well as presenting a program that was rooted in realistic-looking matches, involving realistic grappling as well as stiff striking, moving away from the many fantastic and theatrical elements that wrestling is composed by. This will influence Nakamura's style of wrestling, crafting a style that involved hard-hitting moves with powerful striking, seeming as if Nakamura was purposely attempting to injure or hurt his opponents, with matches in which Nakamura will decimate his competition. This was something that later will evolve into the strong style that Nakamura was known for. Shinsuke will become a prominent figure within his early years at the company, to the point of becoming one of the main wrestlers from New Japan, earning the prestigious IWGP Heavyweight title within his first 2 years as a wrestler, being to this day the youngest wrestler to ever win this title, doing it so at the age of 23 years old. He will continue to dominate as one of the main faces of the company, earning many accolades throughout his career, as it was winning the tournament G1 Climax, the already mentioned IWGP Heavyweight Championship, as well as the Intercontinental IWGP Championship. While he was doing all of this, his character was continuously evolving. Nakamura will eventually develop a gimmick that will resonate around the globe, something that will represent both a blessing and a curse for his career, as it will be with this character that he will find his high success and world fame, but at the same time, it will be the same character, the one thing that will garner the attention of the WWE. Nakamura went through many different phases throughout his career, from a young lion, as New Japan usually refers to the rookie wrestlers, to a more arrogant persona, as he was becoming the face of the company. However, it was around the year 2010 that Nakamura will come up with a gimmick that will captivate the Japanese audience. Taking inspiration from figures like Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury, Nakamura will adopt an attitude that combined flamboyant elements with a ruthless and hard-hitting style of wrestling, dubbing his character as the King of Strong Style. Nakamura will present a more vibrant and charismatic personality with a more flashy gear, as well as he will adopt mannerisms that were eccentric and erratic, but at the same time compelling to the wrestling audience. This will elevate him as the new face of Japanese wrestling, getting recognition and being praised at an international level. With this character reinvention came a series of unbelievably amazing matches that were beloved by both fans and critics, against opponents like Kota Ibushi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, and AJ Styles. His match against AJ Styles in particular will be talked about around the globe, being considered one of the best matches of 2016. It will be on that same year that AJ Styles will make his long-awaited debut at the WWE. Shortly after, Nakamura would follow him, doing it as a member of the NXT brand. Once in NXT, Nakamura was essentially the same character as the King of Strong Style, having a very similar style as the one he had in New Japan. He will have amazing matches against the likes of Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Bobby Roode, and Sami Zayn. Fans that knew him from his time in Japan were excited as they were witnessing the first ever Japanese wrestler to become a main event star in the WWE. Sadly, for both fans and Nakamura himself, a huge obstacle was awaiting for him at the main roster, and his name was Vince McMahon. As it was the case with almost every NXT talent, Vince didn't find the enjoyment that Triple H found in many of the talents that he had brought up, and so he will usually give a mid-card treatment to the NXT wrestlers, not seeing any potential in wrestlers that were smaller in size. At the main roster, Nakamura will be met with great crowd reactions and some level of momentum, so much so that he will be picked as the Royal Rumble winner in the year 2018. Nakamura will then challenge none other than the WWE champion, AJ Styles, a man that he had previously fought in an instant classic of a match. WWE had the opportunity to redeem themselves and to place Nakamura in a prominent role within the company by giving the fans a retelling of their previous encounter at Wrestle Kingdom. Only this time, it will take place at WrestleMania. This match was met with an immense anticipation, especially by the hardcore wrestling fans who already knew about Nakamura's time at New Japan. This match, however, will turn out to be a huge disappointment, with both wrestlers fighting with a much more tame style, so much so that it didn't even resemble the same two wrestlers that met only 2 years prior at the Tokyo Dome. On top of that, Nakamura will fail to obtain the WWE title and will even turn heel at the end, in a match that left a sour taste on fans and even on the wrestlers involved. After this feud was over, Nakamura would be placed in the mid-card, earning titles like the USA title as well as the Intercontinental title, not even close to reaching the heights that he had achieved at New Japan. Nakamura's talent and genius would slowly begin to be forgotten, and he would be lose relevance as the years went on, ending in yet another disappointing run by a foreigner that dared to set a foot inside the WWE. To his fans though, it was bizarre to see how such a charismatic and electric wrestler was being presented in such a boring manner by the WWE. WWE's handling of Nakamura's run represented another misunderstanding of what makes a wrestler to get over outside of the WWE. Instead of presenting him as the character that he was in Japan, WWE tried to tone down the style in which Nakamura wrestled. This will strip him from the ruthless and unrelentless side of his character. Instead of appearing as a dominant figure, he will be perceived as an unconventional and quirky foreigner by the WWE audience. WWE will fail to get him over on their own terms, and also were unwilling to present him as his former self, leading to Nakamura's run at the WWE to be doomed once he got called to the main roster, falling into obscurity and irrelevance, a shell of his former self. Nakamura now hardly resembles the main event powerhouse that he once was. Believe it or not, Nakamura was once a wrestler capable of producing goosebumps to a sold-out arena as he brutalized his opponents inside the ring. All in all, it is obvious that the WWE has the power and influence to lure as many wrestlers as possible, with a wide variety of nationalities and origins. This kind of power, however, is not met with the knowledge and finesse necessary to navigate to different types of audiences and styles of wrestling. WWE has had a historical problem while attempting to break into foreign markets and trying to create stars from outside the USA. The common practice by the WWE while managing a foreigner within their company is usually attempting to make them either more family-friendly or more marketable, while also stripping these talents away from the things that made them get popular and successful in the first place. It is also evident that WWE's staff is not so knowledgeable of wrestling outside of the WWE, as well as they appear oblivious to the cultures from where these wrestlers are from. This being especially noticeable when wrestlers are presented with stereotypical elements that only make them look as bland and disconnected performers that fail to provoke any kind of reaction from the audience. It is true that some success stories have come from outside of the USA, as it has been the case of Alberto Del Rio, who despite not being as beloved, has achieved some memorable accolades inside the WWE. The women's division, though, is the primordial example of successful foreigners at WWE, with wrestlers like Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane being seen as main event stars on the WWE program and being primordial elements in the recent history of the company. With the WWE acquisition of AAA, many things have become uncertain. For Lucha Libre fans, many questions arose once the deal was announced. Questions like how is WWE gonna treat their new talents, or even if they know any of them. Questions like whether the creatives of WWE have an idea or understand the culture and history that Lucha Libre represents to the Mexican audience. The most important question, though, is if this sudden interest that the WWE now have for Lucha Libre comes from a genuine and earnest interest in promoting a different style of wrestling to a global audience, or if it is something more related to the fact that their competition, AEW, has had a more prominent and integral partnership with CMLL, having already many different sold-out shows at Arena Mexico. AAA, even though it's an historic and important company in Mexico, being one of the two biggest ones from there, is definitely a company that has seen better days, having their most emblematic matches and wrestlers during the 90s and early 2000s. In recent years, however, the overall product has been on decline, with many of their major stars leaving to promotions like AEW, WWE, or even Ring of Honor, finding better deals and exposure outside of their own country, being this such a recurrent practice by luchadors in recent times that AAA has even had to rely on independent wrestlers as well as legends from the past to place them at the main events in their latest biggest shows, as it has been the case of the many Triplemanias where independent wrestlers and legends have been taking main focus instead of their own homegrown talent. At last, only time will tell if the many concerns that wrestling fans around the world have are real or not, but given the historic treatment that WWE has had with foreigners, it is reasonable to understand why fans might be concerned. If the WWE respects and has a deeper understanding of the tradition of Lucha Libre, things should go great for AAA, but still, so far things remain uncertain. And in this uncertainty, it only makes fans wonder if it really is the best for wrestling. You have only one major option instead of other alternatives to enjoy and consume wrestling.